as a part of this demo, I just want to explain like what we are going to learn in this particular entire course, and what are the providers that we are going to discuss, and what are the multiple things that we are going to discuss in the Terraform. So everybody knows the Terraform basics. Maybe you have searched in Google, or you might have already started working on that Terraform and all. So we will be going through the basics, and then to the advanced topics like handling the state files on the remote storage, locking. Okay, so state locking, and then we'll be using import, and then we'll be talking about graphs, we'll be talking about Terraform Cloud, Terraform Enterprise, and we'll be talking about all the necessary things which are needed for your production environment, right? So that topics we will be discussing, and we will be automating the process as well. Automating the process in the sense, every time I cannot manually execute these commands, right? The Terraform workflow which we have, which we'll be seeing later. Can everyone please go mute? Prashant, let me mute everyone. Thank you. Yeah. So we will be automating this particular entire process as well, right? So automating the process in the sense, using some CI/CD pipelines. Maybe it is Azure DevOps pipeline, or maybe AWS pipeline, or we can use a Jenkins CI/CD pipeline as well. So there are different ways to automate this particular process. So we can go with a simple example in the demo, like in the not in the demo actually, in the actual sessions. I'll be showing first about the GitHub Actions, right? That is a simple way to start your CI/CD automation process for Terraform, right? And then we will be picking Jenkins and Azure DevOps, and then AWS pipeline. How we will be doing that, automating the entire Terraform workflow process for this particular provider. What are the provider it is? Okay. So in this, which providers we will be picking in our entire session is nothing but Azure services and AWS services. Okay, if you look at our prospective which we have sent, right? Let me just open that. If you look at this, we have discussed, like we have given this particular providers, right? AWS, as well as we will be talking about Azure. How to create a free tier account. We will be not using any paid accounts. Everything is free. Okay, so it is like we have 1 year trial, and this one Azure is like 30 days trial. They will give you some 300 credits, and then later on we will have some free services which you can use it for 1 year. Okay, they're not going to charge anything for you. Okay, and then how to configure this AWS and Azure for your Terraform to get some API calls, to run some API calls or whatever it is. Okay, whatever the provider it is, first we have to understand what is Terraform, what are the fundamentals, and what is the workflow, and what is the state file, how we can do it. Everything is common. Whatever the provider it is, the workflow of working with the Terraform is the same. Nothing will get changed. Okay, whether you use a Terraform CLI open source, or whether you use enterprise Terraform, or whether you use a cloud Terraform, whatever it is, the same. Everything, the concept will be the same. Okay, but the providers might change. That's it. Okay, means you have to use that specific provider, and you have to write that specific configuration file. Okay, so as simple as it is. Okay, we'll be talking about functions, variables, resources, values, data source, backends, how to store your state file when multiple people are working together, right? How will you manage that particular Terraform state file? So for that we have to understand about backends. Okay, and then we have workspaces. When you're trying to deploy your same Terraform configuration files on multiple environments, right? Let's say I have dev environment, QA environment, or I have some greenfield deployment or brownfield deployment, whatever I have. So for that you can use a workspace where you can segregate, or you can isolate your Terraform configuration files, okay, for a different environments. Then we have provisioner, which means that after Terraform has pinned up your infrastructure, so what you want to do on the target nodes? Do you want to execute some script, or do you want to do some post actions and something? For that we can use this provisioner. Or if you want to pass some files from here to the target nodes, then we can use this provisioners. And then we have modules, cloud, graphs, and expressions. Okay, this is a vast syllabus actually, to be frank. Terraform, like if you go in depth, we have we have so many topics that need to be discussed, which might you come across at any point of time. So that's the reason we are covering all the topics what you have in Terraform till date. Okay, So everything, this particular repository is what we will be using for this entire course. Your syllabus will be on the main branch and your actual content will be on the master branch. Okay. If you go to the master branch, for each and every topic I have in the directory, we have given talking about that particular topic, and I have given some examples as well how to execute your Terraform files in the old directory, in the old configuration file style, and the new changes as well. So everything we'll be discussing with examples one by one in an ordered way. Okay. So this is all about my repository where you can just fork it and you can just use it. Okay. Every time, like whenever I find a new changes in the existing topics or the new topics which are coming in, I will be just modifying this particular, I'll be adding that particular topics here. Okay, always keep an update on this. You can just fork it and you can just watch, and you can just keep update to this particular repository. Okay, if you have any suggestions also, you can just fork it, do the modifications and send me a pull request so that I can just review and I can merge into this particular branch. Okay, so that is just a simple overview of what we are going to do. So let me try to first explain what is this Terraform all about. Though for some people it is boring, but still, yeah, we have to understand why Terraform, for whom it is. Okay, especially who have to use this particular Terraform in your daily execution process or whatever it is, whether it is SRE engineer or whether it is a developer or whether it is a deployment engineer, whoever it is, everybody has to have to create some infrastructure, right? Whether you want to run the code or whether you want to run the application or whether you want to do some QA testing and all, for everything we need an infrastructure. Okay, so for that reason only we are using this Terraform, which is the best tool we have right now only for infrastructure management. Okay, I'm not talking about any other configuration management or something. For that we have a specific tools, so we will be discussing one by one. Okay, so any questions before that? Before I start, do you have any questions in this documentation saying like I want this particular topic and all? So we'll be
Yeah,
talking
hi Sudhir.
about AWS, Azure, and Kubernetes as well. That is a simple thing actually. Yeah, Grish, you're saying something?
Yeah, Sudhir. So nowadays I see that a lot of people also use GitHub Actions. So
Yes, true.
whenever it comes to free open source.
It is
So
owned by Microsoft. After that, everybody started using this GitHub. Yeah,
yeah,
GitHub Actions.
yeah, correct, correct. So would you mind to cover some of the things? Basically when we want to automate some of the things
If I'm not
uh,
wrong, in the
from GitHub.
starting itself, I've told that I will be talking about GitHub Actions as well. If I'm not wrong.
I see. Okay, okay. I heard
Yeah.
Azure DevOps and AWS. So
No.
okay.
GitHub Actions as well. That is a simple way to start with. See, if I talk completely about Azure DevOps or something, Azure DevOps pipeline, right? People will get
Mm-hmm.
confused. The simple thing is like, let us go with GitHub Actions, which is a simple way, right? No need to set up
Yeah,
anything and all. It is not highly configured, or you have to do some
correct.
additional configuration, nothing. If you have a
Yeah,
GitHub account, that's enough. And if your code is present in that repository, that's enough for me. Simple. You can see here, right?
right,
Let's say I can
right.
go to my branch. Okay, and here you can see actions, right? You can go to the
Yeah,
actions and you can write you can use whichever you want. Let's say I want to deploy this Terraform on ECS or Azure or Alibaba Cloud or OpenShift or anything you can just integrate. Okay,
yeah,
so this
yeah,
workflow is having some predefined templates as well which we can use, right? Yeah, we
yeah.
will be
Right.
discussing that. True.
Okay, great.
That is the best way to start any automation. So any other questions, please? Are you looking for any other topic that we have not mentioned in this particular
Yeah,
course?
hello,
You can come back.
hello,
Yeah, yeah, Prashant.
hello. This is Prashant here. Yeah.
Yeah, Prashant.
So no, here like as per the topic, it is mentioned Python with the Terraform. So you mean to say like we'll be doing that Python automation
Let
using
me.
Terraform using that
Yeah,
CDK
yeah.
or like how is it?
Yeah, just I want to tell a few things as well. So we can
Uh,
automate this particular infrastructure in multiple ways, right?
Uh-huh.
With coding
No,
and without
generally,
coding.
generally Python with Terraform means Python will be the language, then Terraform will be actually doing the automation. Infrastructure build up it will do. In between CDK will be there, which will Python will be interact with the Terraform using the CDK. So that one you will be doing, or how the Python will play interactively with the Terraform. That is my thing.
Okay, so let me explain.
Uh-huh.
Terraform is something where it is a declarative language. It's not actual
Right, right.
scripting which you are writing, right? And your
Right.
Python is something where you need to know first what is a Python language. You have to know what is classes, methods, inheritance, object oriented programming. You have to know about functions and all. The people
Right.
who are working with Python language or something, AWS
Uh-huh.
has provided you, or Azure is providing you some SDK, software defined toolkit, right?
Right.
Software defined kit. Where is there is
Mm.
nothing but they have developed some modules. You will be
Mm.
using that modules and you will be writing some functions in order to spin up the infrastructure. Okay.
Right.
For some
Mm.
people, it is really tough for them to learn this Python language, right? Okay. So let's say
Uh-huh.
there is a person who is coming from a storage background. Okay. For
Right.
him,
Mm.
learning this language is really tough and it is not necessary for him as per his
Uh-huh.
requirement or as per his career growth and all. It is not at all needed for him. For those
Mm.
people, there is a simple tool which is designed nothing but a Terraform, right? For Terraform, it
Mm.
doesn't need you any language
Mm.
background for you to be as a prerequisite, right? You just write
Right.
a simple human readable language. That means like
Mm.
human readable syntaxes you will follow, and then you will
Mm.
be using that particular commands, CLI commands, right, in order to spin
Mm.
up the infrastructure. Whereas
Right.
Python, I need to first learn Python, okay, and after that
Mm.
I need to know what are the modules that will be used for AWS. For example, Boto 3, right? You might have
Right.
heard
Right.
about it. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
I
I need
worked
to
on
know
that
what is
also.
Boto 3, yeah, what are the modules, functions,
Mm.
inheritance,
Mm.
multi-class, everything I need to
Mm.
learn. Then I need to write in
Mm.
a proper way to spin up my infrastructure. Tell me which is tough or which is really hard for a person to start up with infrastructure automation. Obviously it's Python languaging, right? So everybody, it's not needed actually, but still yes, in our particular course we have designed Python as well. The people who are interested in Python can be also added to this particular automation process, infrastructure automation. Okay, there is a separate course for that, means a separate person will be teaching on this. He'll be starting with Python and he will be explaining about this particular Python language A to Z. Like I think we have the syllabus, let me show you. Give me
So
a few
it
minutes,
is
okay.
not. Yeah. Then it is not a integration of Python and a Terraform. It is like you'll be covering
No,
Python
no.
separately.
See,
Python.
your Terraform is developed on HashiCorp configuration language. It uses its
Right.
own declarative language, right? So
Right.
we are
Mm.
not worried about on which language it was developed. We are worried about
Mm.
how to write a configuration file, like Ansible, like Puppet, like for your chef configuration management tool.
No,
Are you really
no,
writing this Python code? No, right?
no, no. See, what I'm trying to say, generally, whenever we are writing Terraform, see,
Yes.
Terraform code generally will be writing. Sorry to disturb you. Sorry. Generally, I just want to understand. Generally, Terraform,
Okay.
okay, code will be writing in the .f and using the SCL. Okay.
You
Then,
cannot call it as code
see,
actually. Yeah, you cannot call
uh,
it as code. It's just a configuration language. That's it. Okay.
right,
Code in the
right,
sense
right.
some
Yeah,
people will be worried.
Hasika confusion language. Okay,
Yeah.
and that will be like in order to build like huge infrastructure, you'll be using that, right?
Yes.
And
Exactly.
you can write the code using or you can execute that using that build pipeline or all the things. Adding to that, suppose someone is strong in Python, he doesn't know Terraform, right?
Yeah.
And already
Yeah.
the Terraform like source file is there. Okay,
Yeah.
so if they want to incorporate that code in the Python, so they can use the CDK, right?
SDK.
Cloud SDK and no, CDK is
CDK
there,
as
right?
well. CDK. Oh no no. It is called as CDK TF. TF.
Huh.
Okay.
Huh. So they'll be from Python, like they'll be importing that tool libraries, and they'll call the Terraform like procedures, right?
Yeah.
But what
So
Boto
you
3
can see
will
the
do,
screen, right?
what Terraform
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Understood
doing,
the point.
Boto 3 also we can create the EC2 instance, we can create the infrastructure, and we can do all the things, right? Whether Boto 3 will be integrated with Terraform.
See, Terraform can be integrated with multiple tools. Okay. It's not
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
Terraform that we can, but Terraform, instead of integrating that, you
Hmm.
will be calling your Boto 3 module and you'll be
Hmm.
writing your own Python scripts, okay, and then you will be integrating with your AWS. It's not that your Boto will be integrated to your Terraform is a separate and it uses its own mechanism in order to run some
Right.
API calls against the provider. Okay, so
Right.
what they have come up with is nothing but Terraform and AWS has come up with a cloud development toolkit. Okay, cloud development kit for Terraform, which means that now your Terraform, instead of writing in HashiCorp language, you can use either TypeScript, or you can use a Python, or you can use Go language, and you can write your own language. You can see here, right? TypeScript,
Yeah,
Python,
this one
Java,
I'm
C
talking. Yeah.
Sharp, and
Uh,
Go. So you'll be using any
uh,
one of the language, and you will be
uh.
using this Terraform to integrate. Okay, so you'll be using this Terraform to integrate, and it will create an infrastructure for you. And again, you are
So this
writing,
one you'll be
it's like,
covering, right? This part you'll be covering, right?
see, this part will be covered as a part of Python course. Okay, it's not related to the Terraform. Okay, Terraform
Python
automation
with
is
the
different.
Terraform, like this is mentioned. So in that
Yeah,
complete
I
course, it will
understand.
be covered, right?
Because yeah, in the complete course it will be covered. So the Python, what we will be training, right? In the Python, we will be using this Python language in order to use Boto 3 plugin. See, no need to use this CDK as well. Okay, which is already developed. We can
So, sir,
also use
Boto
Boto
3
3
purpose
plugin.
is different, sir, right? Boto
Yes,
3
yes,
generally it is a toolkit for only AWS, right? So AWS
yes.
people, okay, they have developed the toolkit for like for Python. Okay, that will be used for Boto 3.
Simple.
Use
See,
as
simple.
Boto 3.
If you want to
Uh,
integrate, if you want to
but there
contact
is
your
no relation
Terraform,
between Boto 3 and Terraform, right?
yes. So Python is a specific language, or any specific language if you use, with that particular coding, you can contact to your Terraform. Terraform will spin up the infrastructure for you. Okay, if you want that
Sorry,
particular flow, that is how we
sorry to
use. If
Okay,
you
sir.
don't want to
Okay,
use Boto
okay,
3.
is this a
okay.
doubt
Thank you.
clarification session or a demo session?
It's a demo. Yeah.
Okay, I think if it's a demo, I think we need to wait until the end and then probably need to ask questions. That's what I feel. Or if something
Yeah, it's
within,
okay, but a few people have some
Sorry,
questions, right?
actually, he was
That's why.
asking you, do you have any questions? That's why, like, I had questions I asked. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
okay, no problem, guys. Let us
no,
understand. See,
just
everything is
if
discussion,
I ask,
right?
right? He's explaining something and
See,
if he has questions, then until what he explained, if you have questions, not the one
see,
which is
Ranjit,
not explained.
Ranjit, 2 minutes of time or 5 minutes of time, it doesn't cost anything, right? So that's the reason what
True, but it's
questions,
like,
right?
yeah, it's not
So,
like
so
who don't know asking
Sudhir,
questions, right?
like it's
Most
a
people can ask questions.
people
We
are
feel
joining
like,
from the different places, so we need to consider
Yeah.
the time also here, please.
Okay, then no problem, no problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, that's fine. So let us go with the demo. So what we will be teaching in this particular entire course, we have discussed like what are the topics that is covered. Okay. So in the Terraform, first of all, let me explain about why is this infrastructure as a code that should be automated. Okay, so generally if you want to create some infrastructure in the production or staging or wherever it is, we have to follow some particular CLI commands, right? Let's say I want to spin up this, first let us say EC2 instance, for example, if it is AWS, right? EC2 instance, I need to create some security groups, I need to create some VPC networking, and then I need to open some particular security groups or as well, and there should be some particular key should be created in order to contact to my AWS instance and all. These are the steps which we need to follow. Okay, so in order to follow these particular steps, I will either I will be using AWS console, or I will be using some CLI commands in order to interact with my AWS cloud, right? So these are the only steps which we used to use generally in the normal scenarios. But when you're maintaining some large infrastructure and all, there should be some automation process, or there should be some particular tool which can create my infrastructure for me as per my requirement. Okay, so it is nothing but it is written through the particular code, right? So it is like infrastructure which you are trying to create with the help of code. That is called as infrastructure as a code. So instead of you doing it manually, you will be saying what I want, what is my desired, what I want exactly. So that you will be specifying in the configuration file, and that will be taken as an input by your tool, whatever you use, and that will create an infrastructure for you. So here we have so many tools, but especially why Terraform we will discuss later. But let us see what are the other tools which we have. We have like SaltStack, we have Ansible, Puppet, Chef, Vagrant as well, which we can use in order to spin up the infrastructure and all. So now, why we are not using this SaltStack or Ansible, Puppet, like these particular configuration management tools? Because they are especially designed and they will be well suitable for configuration management. So what is configuration management? Once your infrastructure is pinned up, if you want to install some packages, or if you want to modify some configuration files, or if you want to uninstall some packages, or if you want to execute some commands after the infrastructure is pinned up, then the well suitable tools for in that particular scenario is Ansible, Puppet, and Ceph. Okay, salt stack as well. So where you can use it in order to run your configuration management actions like what I've told right now, right? Even Ansible, Puppet, these can be used for spinning up your infrastructure as well. Let's say I can use Ansible, I can use some module related to AWS, and I can spin up my infrastructure. But the problem is you can spin up the infrastructure, but you cannot control the infrastructure. Okay, so those are the problems which we have with configuration management tools. Like let's say when multiple people are trying to spin up the infrastructure, AWS doesn't have any control to log that particular what do you say, the process which is running with multiple process which are trying to interact with the AWS API. But whereas in Terraform we have something like a state locking, which I've just spoke, right? State locking is something where I can add a state locking in the sense of there will be a state file which will be logged until one process has been interacted to your Terraform state file. So that particular process will log this particular file, so that if another process, or let's say another person, is trying to spin up the infrastructure, it will not allow, because this particular state file is locked. Okay, until that particular log file is released, it is unlocked. You cannot run any other process in order to run your infrastructure. So that's the advantage which is provided in Terraform. Not only that, let's say if I want to use Ansible, or if I want to use any other configuration management tool, or for AWS I need to follow certain particular procedure, and if I want to use Azure, I need to, maybe that is not maybe suitable, I need to use another tool and all. So instead of that, if I want to spin up an infrastructure, the common tool which is used in order to spin up your infrastructure is Terraform, where Terraform has multiple providers. It can spin up anything which is needed for your infrastructure to be up and running. Terraform has a specific provider. So what is this provider is nothing but Terraform will have a plugin in the sense, in order to Terraform interact to that particular provider like AWS, Azure, or something, it will download the plugin. So that plugin will run some API calls in order to spin up the service, any service, EC2, VPC, storages like EBS, S3 bucket, or file system storage, or database, MySQL database, RDS. Okay, whatever you want, that particular service will be spinned up. For that, you need to write a specific configuration file. Okay, so do we need to learn any programming language? No. For a Terraform, it doesn't need for you to be skilled or to be learned about any programming language. So directly you can write your Terraform configuration file, which is like human readable. Like by looking at the file itself, you can understand what it is trying to do. Okay, best example is like you can see this one, right? This is how it looks. For example, let me show one. Yeah, okay, this one. Yeah, here you can see, right? Here in this example on the right hand side, you can see here resource AWS instance. Okay, so this is called as resource block. Okay, and this is called as block label, and this is called also block label. Actually, we call it as block type and block name. Okay, so here what it is trying to do is nothing but it is trying to contact AWS. So that's the reason it is trying to create a resource called AWS underscore instance. This is what you have to use, so Terraform can understand how to contact to the EC2 instances. Okay, with this particular resource type. Okay, so this resource type will tell you how your Terraform can contact to that particular EC2 instance. In order to contact to VPC, it has AWS underscore VPC. That is a resource type. Okay, so and the resource name is nothing but the name which you provide for this particular resource which is getting created. Okay, it's not the name of your instance, it is the name of the resource what your Terraform is trying to create that particular instance. Okay, now it will use this particular AMI, Amazon machine image, in order to create your instance. And this is the instance type, like how much CPU, how much RAM, how much block IO should be used. It depends upon the instance type what you use. And this is a tagging which is getting added to your instance which is getting spinned up. Okay, so in this way you will specify, see, by looking at this file I can understand what it is trying to do. I know what is AMI if you are already aware of this particular AWS, and instance type, and we will be using tagging. Okay, tagging in the sense specific naming convention, metadata name that you will be assigned to your EC2 instance. So now when I execute some particular command, Terraform will use certain plugin, use that particular AWS plugin, and it will contact to the EC2 instance, and then it will create a resource for me. So now for me, no need to follow any manual step. Okay, when multiple people are working on a same project, if he doesn't know what are the things that to be followed, let's say I'll be following some particular procedure in order to create an instance. Okay, let's say I will enable this, I will not enable this and all. There will be so many options, right? When you try to create a EC2 instance. For example, let me show you. Okay, so let me come there. Let me first explain this. Let's say this is my AWS dashboard, okay, console. So let me go to EC2 dashboard, and if I go to the instances, here I don't have an instance. If I want to launch an instance, there are certain particular steps. AMI selection, instance type, configure instance, add storage, add tags, configure security groups, and review. So these are the stages which we have to complete in order to spin up the instance. And few stages are not at all mandatory. You can directly create an instance after the third stage. Okay. So there are certain things actually. So every time a person, from person to person, he cannot remember what are the things that should be enabled and what are the things that should be used in order to spin up the instance, right? See, as an engineer, I will be following certain documentation. In the documentation, something will be written. So based on that steps, I will be selecting that particular parameters and I will try to create an instance. That is fine and well and good. But when other person is trying to replicate the same instance, he may not follow the same step, or he might be skipping some particular step, fortunately or unfortunately, and he will try to create an instance and may not be working as per our expectation. So in order to avoid these kind of things, okay, so if we use a common tool where you will be writing what you need exactly, that is called as decide in the sense what you need exactly. So that you will be writing in a configuration file, and that file will be used by multiple people who are working on the project. How I can do that? I can push this particular configuration file to the version control system like GitHub or any other SVN, any version control you use, centralized version control system or distributed version control system, whatever you use, ultimately it is provided in the version control. So he can download it, he can modify the changes whatever he need, and he can spin up the infrastructure. Okay, modifying some name or adding some tags, and he can spin up the instance for him. So that is so simple, right? So that's where this particular tools will simplify the job when you're working on this automation process. Let's say you are using CI/CD tool, it will try to pick this particular code what you have written in the version control, and it will try to spin up your infrastructure. So every time it doesn't need to remember all the options, all the parameters which are enabled and which are not enabled. Okay, so that is a first preference and first use case of why we will be using this particular Terraform in order to automate this particular process, infrastructure creation. Any service if you want to create, that is provided by AWS and Azure. Actually, I have not written any specific slide for it. Actually, we will be discussing about Azure provider as well. Azure cloud we will be using in order to create some instances, services like virtual machines, networking, storage, okay, file system, everything. Whatever we will be seeing in AWS, same thing we will see how to spin up the infrastructure in the Azure as well. Okay, so for that I will tell you how to create Azure account, how to use it. First, we have to understand in this particular entire course, first we will be seeing how to create it manually, and then we will see how to automate this particular process using Terraform configuration file. That is how we need to follow, so that everybody will understand what are the things that we need to follow in the CLI and how complex it is, or how boring or like how repetitive task that we have to do, right? So then we will see how to automate that particular process by writing a Terraform configuration file. So that is how the best learning is nothing but that's how we have to do. First you have to do it manually, then you have to know how to automate that particular process. Okay, so that we will come to know which should be enabled and which should not be enabled. Okay, so that is the first thing why we will be preferring this particular Terraform in order to create this infrastructure. Why not Ansible and Puppet and all? These are especially designed for configuration management. They can do this infrastructure as well, but there are no so many modules which are present, and it is not that easy to manage the infrastructure. Okay, when it comes to the large environment or medium environment, it will become really complex when you use configuration management. So for that reason only, Terraform is only concentrated, or it's only designed especially for infrastructure management. Okay, so that is how it is. So in the Terraform, what is the workflow? Just a second, guys. There is some background noise. Just 2 minutes. Okay, sorry for the trouble. So in the Terraform, what is the working principle? So which means that if I want to create some infrastructure, what are the steps I need to follow? What are the things I need to take into consideration? First and foremost is nothing but, if you are using AWS, you need to have a AWS account like this. Okay, we'll be talking about that as well, how to create a AWS free tier account. Okay, and then we need to have our Terraform client mission in the sense from where you want to run Terraform CLI commands. Okay, that will be your workstation. Nothing but it is called as workstation in the sense where you will be start working with Terraform, right? So let's say I have this virtual machine. Okay, here I have installed Terraform actually. Okay, so I have installed Terraform here. You can see the version. Okay, so Terraform was installed. You can also install Terraform on Windows as well. Let me open PowerShell. A second. With Windows PowerShell, just open with run as administrator. So here also I have installed already, just Terraform hyphen version. You can see here. So this is the latest version and this is the old version actually. Okay. So here I have installed Terraform as well. Okay. So either you can run from your Linux machine, or you can run from your Windows PowerShell or CMD prompt as well. Okay, from anywhere. Just you need a source in order to run the CLI commands, Terraform CLI commands, in order to interact to your provider. Okay. So the next thing which we need is nothing but, when you want to work with a specific provider, first thing is nothing but, as I already told, for example, if you are using AWS account, okay, so the thing which you need is nothing but go to the IAM. Once your account has been created, we need to run some particular API calls to your this particular AWS account, right? So come to the users. This is my user right now. This is what the user which I'm using right now. And here you need to go to the security credentials. Okay. If you go to the security credentials, here you can see we have this access key. This access key is especially used for you to run some AWS CLI commands, or if you are using any CLI tools in order to interact with the AWS, we have to use access key and secret key. Okay, so these keys are important for us in order to run some particular API calls to this particular AWS account. So I have already created this and I've already downloaded. So I will show you in the demo actual what do you say sessions. When we start in the first day of the session, we'll be talking about this. Okay, how to create this access key and how to download, save it in your proper location where it is not visible in public. So try to save it in your local machine, and after that, okay, you have to install a CLI package as well. So generally we have to sometimes we have to run some AWS commands. Okay, let's say AWS S3 ls command. So this command is interacting to my AWS account. Actually it is trying to pull my S3 buckets if I have anything. Right now I don't have any S3 bucket, so it is giving me empty result. Actually, how my AWS CLI was able to interact to my AWS account is nothing but, I've already configured my AWS. Okay, so configured in the sense what, already have my access key, secret key, and which region I want to use. Everything is stored in a specific file. That file is stored under .aws. Okay, so this is the directory where my secret key and access key is stored in this particular file. Okay, and my region and other details can be stored in this particular config file. Okay, so only credentials will be stored in this particular file, like access key and secret key, which is important for you to authenticate to your Kubernetes cluster, sorry, AWS cloud. Okay, and the config is something where some additional parameters like which zone you want to, availability zone you want to use, or which region you want to use. Okay, so those things can be specified in this particular config file. Okay, since I have this particular details, I already installed AWS CLI as well. Okay, so this you can get it from official document. Here is the official document on how to install AWS CLI here as well. So this is like a prerequisite. Once these two things are done, creating these key files and having your AWS CLI installed, you have to run a command called AWS configure. Okay, when you run this command, okay, it will ask you access key, secret key, and which region you want to create. So once you execute this command, this directory will be created and these files will be created with that specific data what you have passed. Okay, so this is how the CLI will happen. Okay, so once this is done, now we are ready. Your Terraform is installed and your AWS configuration is also done successfully. So now your Terraform will try to pick by default. Okay, so by default, as per the best practices, it is always recommended to store your credentials under .aws from where you are running this particular CLI commands, Terraform CLI commands. Okay, simple your workstation. Okay, if you are automating the process, it might be a container or it might be a pod, Kubernetes pod, or it might be a temporary instance, whatever it is, when you are working with the pipelines. Okay, we can discuss later about that. But anyway, it is as per the best practices, it is recommended to store .aws direct, create a AWS directory and store your credentials under this particular file. If you don't want to do that, even you can use environment variables to store your access key and secret key. Okay, so that is also another alternative which you can use. Okay, so these are the two things which you have to follow. So once these two things are done, now your Terraform is ready to identify your credentials to contact to your AWS cloud. Authentication and authorization will be picked from this particular credentials file. Terraform by default, it will look for .aws directory, and under that it will search for your credentials, and then it will try to authenticate on behalf of you. So your Terraform tool is trying to communicate to your Kubernetes cluster. Sorry, my bad, AWS cloud console. Okay, so now once this is done, okay, so now you can run your Terraform commands now. So before running the Terraform commands, first of all, we have to know how to write, right? So first of all, we need to understand how first your Terraform will communicate to your what do we say, AWS, right? AWS, Azure, Kubernetes, or any other provider like Alibaba Cloud or IBM Cloud or Oracle Cloud or any other cloud, right? So Terraform provides more than 3000 plus providers, actually 3000 plus providers. You can imagine how a single platform is a common tool which is used for infrastructure management. Okay, now for me, as an administrator or a SRE engineer or as a QA engineer, whatever it is, as a storage engineer, okay, I no need to think about create using multiple tools for multiple providers. Okay, so Terraform is providing you a common platform. Okay, you already know how to write a Terraform configuration file. Using the provider is not tough to you. Okay, so they will provide you some API like how to write a configuration file for that particular resource. You have to use it and you have to modify according to your requirement and then run the Terraform commands. That's it, as simple as it is. Okay, once you know about completely thoroughly about how to manage your Terraform. Okay, so what are the providers? Now whatever the provider it is, I'm using a common tool called as Terraform to create my infrastructure. That's the main bigger advantage in your environment to adopt this. Okay, the first point, and which is really important for us. Now, okay, that is fine. I installed my CLI tool, Terraform CLI tool, and okay, I have installed my AWS or Azure CLI. Since I don't have enough time, I cannot show on Azure. Okay, I'll be going with only AWS for right now. But in our actual course, we'll be spinning up the same example for Azure as well. Okay, so keeping that point aside, so now, okay, my initial setup is done. Now how I need to create a resource in my AWS using this Terraform. Okay, first your Terraform has to interact to your AWS, right? You have a credentials, but how to contact with that particular specific API? Okay, so for that Terraform, it needs a plugin. Okay, so in order to have that particular plugin installed in your local workstation, okay, so let me go somewhere like I already downloaded that particular repository. So Terraform deep dive. Okay, you can see here. Okay, so I will be going to the demo. This was created today actually. So just I want to show you some examples. Okay, so here you can see there are multiple files. Here, let me remove these files. I will explain one by one what are these exactly. Okay, so let's say I have written so many files. All the files are ended up with .tf Terraform files. Okay, so these are Terraform configuration files. Except this. This is general file which I want to run some particular shell script. Okay, so keep this aside. No need to worry too much about this. Now, from wherever I'm trying to execute, that is called as root module. Root module in the sense from where you are executing this particular command, where your Terraform configuration files are present. This is called as root module. Okay, so from here I'm trying to execute the command. So when you want to execute some command, first I've told you that we need a plugin. Okay, so Terraform has to use a AWS plugin in order to interact to the AWS cloud. Okay, so how will you download that particular plugin? How, where you will define that? What plugin should be used? Plugin is nothing but which provider, okay, that particular version we have to use and all, right? So that is defined in a separate file called provider.tf. Okay, so if you open this file, this is a new way of writing this. Okay, this is called as Terraform settings block. This is called as Terraform settings block. Okay, so what is a version Terraform you have to use? Okay, required provider in the sense which provider you want to use. I want to use AWS. Source in the sense it is downloading this particular AWS provider plugin from this HashiCorp repository. Okay, if you go to this particular cloud, okay, registry.terraform.io, you can see now your Terraform is developed to what do you say, to interact with 1414 providers and 6947 modules which are developed as of now, and still it is continuing to development. Okay, so if you want to see the providers, you can go to browse providers and you can see AWS as well here. Okay, so if you want to use this particular AWS provider, okay, you can use this one. Okay, you can see this Terraform settings, required provider, AWS, and you can see the source, which means that it will contact to this particular registry.terraform.com and it will search for this particular AWS provider and it will download. Okay, it will download the version what you have specified. Okay, currently it is 3.59.0. Okay, what I specified 3.0. Okay, so 3.0 in the sense tilde greater than in the sense 3 dot whatever is the latest version of this particular minor version. Major is nothing but 3. Everybody knows, right? 3.0.0, let's say, for example. 3 is your major version. 0 is your minor version after that. Again, dot 0 in the sense that is a patch version. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to say is nothing but tilde greater than in the sense any version after this major version. In the minor version, whichever is the latest number, which is nothing but let's say 3.59 is the latest one. So that particular plugin will download and that will be installed in your local workstation. Okay, and that plugin will be used in order to interact to your AWS cloud. Okay, so this is what the section talks about. Okay, you can write multiple providers at a time, but since your configuration files are written specifically for your AWS, so in this root module, I'll be writing only AWS related Terraform configuration files. So those providers only will be there here. Okay, and this provider, whatever the name you have given here, see this name is not mandatory that you have to give AWS. You can give Sudhir or you can use Prajesh, Girish, whatever it is. But for our convenience to understand that this is AWS related provider, so that's the reason I have written in a proper standard way. That is nothing but AWS. Now using this particular parameter as a reference, now I'm telling which region I want to connect. Okay, let's say which profile I want to use. Everything I'm specifying here. So you might have a question like, what is a region? Region is nothing but Mumbai region, Virginia region. In the Mumbai region also we will have availability zones. Availability zones in the sense, let's say Mumbai 1A, US East 1A, US East 1B, US East 1C. Different data centers. Okay, all these data centers together is called as a region in that specific area, and these data centers are called as availability zones. Okay, so I'm specifying in which region it should launch this particular resource, what I'm trying to create right now. Whatever I try to create in this particular root module, that has to be created in this particular region. Okay, this region I'm getting a value from a different location, actually that is from variables file. Okay, if you want to hard code this, you can write here. Let's say if I want to hard code this, I can write like this as well. Let's say US East -1. Okay, this can be written like this. Okay, I don't want to hard code this. I'm picking this particular value from the variables file. So I'll tell you what is this variable files and all in depth. It is a vast syllabus. Okay, variables, values. Okay, there are so many things actually. Okay, so instead of hard coding it, I'm just calling from somewhere. Okay, and then default profile in the sense your credentials. Okay, if you remember, I've told that my credentials are stored under .aws directory. Under that we have credentials, right? So this is my default profile. Profile in the sense, this is the section. If you write another section, if you have another secret key and access key, let's say for example, this is the old credentials actually. Now if I write this 3yy and let me copy paste. Now let me write this as Sudhir. Now this is called as Sudhir profile. Sudhir profile in the sense, if I want to use this particular credentials to authenticate, I need to write there profile is equal to this. Okay, so if you have multiple sections, you can write multiple profiles over here. Okay, so which profile you want to use in order to authenticate, that profiles need to be defined here. Okay, if you don't write anything, what will happen? By default it will take default profile. Okay, so no need to worry about this particular parameter as well. So once these things are done, now you need to run some particular simple command which will download the provider for you to your local workstation. Okay, so let me show you that first. This is the first thing we have to do. Whenever you are working with Terraform configuration management tool, sorry, Terraform infrastructure management tool, the first thing we have to write a provider file, provider configuration file, and then you need to specify which provider you want to use. Okay, and the other things what you want. Once they are written, okay, so now I have these files. I have only these files, right? So the first command which you need to execute is nothing but in the workflow, Terraform init. Okay, so once you execute this command, whatever the parameter you have written there, see my requirement is any version which is matching to this or greater than this 3.1, 3.2, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6 or 3.55 is the latest one. So that has to get downloaded and that should get installed in my local workstation. So whatever we have seen here, that latest version is getting downloaded, right? If you don't want this particular version, for example, I want another version. Okay, so then you have to specify which version you want to use. Let's say I want to use a different version. Let's say 3.5.57.0. Then instead of writing like this, tilde greater than, right? You need to write equal to. You need to write equal to 3 dot what is it 3.57, yeah, 3.57.0. So you will be using that particular plugin. Okay, so maybe this plugin might have some latest bug fixes or maybe some new functionality which was written or new API might be added to this particular plugin. There could be so many things, right? AWS cloud is changing from day-to-day basis. They're adding some new functionalities, they're removing some old functionalities, deprecated ones, they are adding some API calls, new API calls, there might be removed some old API calls. So many things will happen in the background. So always it is recommended to have a latest or a specific provider plugin version to interact to your provider. Okay, so now as per my requirement, I have downloaded this and it is used this particular thing. Okay, so once this command is executed, you can see a new directory called .terraform directory and there is a file called log file, HCL log file. So this file will be having, okay, your plugin, right? So whichever plugin has been downloaded, that provider plugin, those provider related information will be stored here. The hash version, okay, the specific version which you are using and all, those information will be saved into this particular file. So don't try to manually modify this. Okay, so don't try to manually modify this. This has to be maintained by your Terraform init command itself. Okay, let's say, for example, I'm saying here, okay, though it is not required. Tomorrow, let's say I want to use a different version. Let's say there is a 3.60. Now it is 3.59, right? Let's say, for example, I want to use that particular version. Okay, so let's say I have written something like equal to, for example, 3.60. I want to download it and install. Okay, so this particular version provider I need to upgrade, right? So I'm not saving it, so I want to upgrade. So then what you will do, Terraform init hyphen upgrade, sorry, upgrade. Now what will happen, earlier it was installed with 1.59.0. Now it will download a new one and it will be saved into your particular local system. Okay, so this particular version workstation will get saved. So where it is saved, let me show you. If you look at this, just a second, it is a hidden file, right? So I'm giving tree command -a. You can see here there is a Terraform directory which is created. Under that you can see a providers. You have a registry.terraform.io directory. Under that it created another directory called HashiCorp. Under that it created another directory called AWS. In that it saved this particular, it created this particular directory with the version what we have downloaded, 3.59.0. Okay, tomorrow if you have upgraded, it will create another directory under this AWS called 3.60.0. Okay, and under that you will have this particular Linux AMD64 and then Terraform plugin. So this is how the directory structure is created, and that's how your plugin is stored into this particular location. Okay, so when this you will see this when you execute Terraform init command. Any operation which you do under Terraform init, this particular directory will be created if it is not there with this particular directory structure, and it will store your plugin. Okay, and this is nothing but whatever the plugin has been downloaded, that particular plugin related hash codes, means this particular plugin will have specific hash codes, right? SHA-56 coding number, so that this particular version will have this particular plugins, packages, libraries and all, right? Those information will be stored in this log.hcl file. So these two files will be created, this file and this directory will be created by your Terraform init command. Okay, so this is what it does. Tomorrow if you use a different version of AWS provider, then another directory will be created. It will not delete this one. Okay, it will use another directory, and that's how it will store your plugin related information. Okay, so that is how it happens. This is the first thing what you do. Okay, this is the first thing in the workflow. If you see this is a workflow, right? So first in the CLI you will be writing your Terraform configuration file for specific provider. That is the first thing you do in the Terraform CLI. Once that is done, we have executed Terraform init command. So what this command will do, this command will download the provider to the local machine from where operations are performed. Let's say I'm performing the operations from this particular local system, my Ubuntu machine, right? So here it will download my provider plugin. Okay, once it is installed, okay, now I need to write my Terraform configuration files. These, let's say how to create an instance, okay, how to print the output values, okay, how to give a input variable files. I will show you only instance because I don't want to go in the demo itself the whole explanation of what is this exactly, how it is written. Just I want to tell you that this is a Terraform file in order to create your instance. Okay, I'm using this particular key which is already created. Okay, let me show you this. This is my AWS account. If I go to this EC2, okay, here you can see something like EC2 dashboard. Here you can see the keys. You can see here Sudhams underscore Virginia underscore demo. Okay, so this is my key. So this key I will be used to attach the instance, so that tomorrow if I want to do an SSH, I will be using this particular key, or my Terraform will be use this particular key in order to authenticate to that particular EC2 instance. Okay, so while creating this instance, I'm telling that I want to use AMI specific AMI. I want to use an instance type, and I want to use this particular key, and I want to create this particular instance in this availability zone, and this should be the tag. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say. If I need to create it manually, for example, let me show you quickly how to create it. Okay, so this is my AMI. Did I specify the same AMI in my account actually? I guess so, but let me open that. Um, variables, yeah, here it is. Where is my type, instance, region, type, name, AMI? Yeah, here it is, right? So this is what you can see. So by default, it is picking that. Let's say I want to use this one. This is the latest one right now. So let me take this. Okay, copy. See, this will change. This AMI ID will change from region to region. So you have to be careful in that as well. Okay. So according to this Virginia region, this is the AMI which I want to use. Okay. So this is what it is. You can see. Now I want to create with this AMI. Let's say this is the instance type. You can see here c2 dot micro. Okay, this is the free type. You can see here, if you use any one of them apart from this, they will charge according to hourly basis. They will charge based on the cost and all. They'll raise a billing for you. So let us go with free type. Let us try to use this one. Okay, if you delete immediately, nothing will happen. Okay, but okay, I told you, right, after selecting this we can really spin up the instance, but I want to do other stages as well. I just want to show you what it does exactly. So configure instance details. I want to create only one instance with this particular default networking and all. Okay, I don't want to change anything else. Okay, then add storage. This is the default storage which will be used, 8 GB. It will be the size of your instance. Okay, and this will be the IO operations which will be done, and this will be the disk which will be attached. Okay, after that, if you want to add a tag, you can add it. How we are using here, right? So how we are adding a tag here in the instance, you can see here, right? So we'll be adding that. Okay, I am not doing anything like this. Security group, I'm allowing only 22. Okay, anything else if you want, you can just do it. Okay, this will be creating a new security group. Okay, and review and launch. Okay, so launch. So now it is telling you, do you want to use this particular SSH key? Yes. So acknowledge and then launch instance. Okay, so this is the manual step which we have to follow in order to create the AWS instance. Okay, so this is what we are trying to create. It will say take some time to create this particular instance. So this instance public IP address is this, and this is the private IP address. Okay, with this IP address I can access my applications which might be running in this particular instance. Okay, now if I want to create this particular instance from Terraform, okay, so this is what I'm doing. What AMI I need to use, what instance type, what is the key I want to use in order to do an SSH to this particular instance, and which availability zone it should launch. If you don't specify anything, availability zone, it will pick any one of the availability zone in that region. Region you already specified, right, in providers.tf file. So that particular region it will take, and it will pick any one of the availability zone in order to launch the instance. Okay, and this will be the tagging which will be added. It is not mandatory, it is just an optional. Okay, so here you can see something like var.ami name, which means that I not hard coded this. I am trying to pick the value from different location. That is called as variables. Okay, so those are written in variables.tf file. You can see here what is the AMI region, availability zone name, AMI name, instance type, and instance count. Okay, how many instances you want to launch with the same template? Do you want to launch 1, 2, 3? How many you want to launch? Those many instances will get launched here. Okay, maybe in production you want one. Let's say I want to use same Terraform configuration file, but now I'm launching on the dev environment, development environment. Then we can change it to 2 or 3 or something, and then we can launch. Simple, right? No need to go to the actual Terraform file and search for that particular parameter where it is, and no need to modify there. Directly we can come to the variables.tf file. You can modify whichever parameter you want to, and then you can just deploy. Okay, so this is how we can simplify our job. In this way, we have so many things that we need to discuss in Terraform. Okay, state locking, so many things which I have told you, right? This. Okay, after these are written, the first another command which you want to execute, it is not mandatory, but execute, it will modify the Terraform files as per the styling and validation. Okay, so Terraform format, FMT format, in the sense if any one of the file is not written in a proper format. Okay, let's say instance.tf file, let's say you can see the equal to in a proper way, right? Here you can see, right? So generally if you write equal to, it will come here, for it will come here, for this it will come here, for this you can see here. So this is not proper styling actually. Okay, so when you execute this particular format, it will tell you which file it has modified and which file it has not modified. If it is not modified, it will not show you anything. If it is formatted any one of the file, it will show you that actually. Let me show you once one of them, how is this formatting works. Okay, so I've written here. Okay, let's say now I will execute something like this file was unformatted. Okay, you can see here. Now if I execute Terraform FMT, now it is telling you that okay, this file has been formatted. How it is formatted, let's see. Okay, this is how it is. Now Terraform validation. If you want to check your syntaxes of your Terraform, whether you have written properly or not, did you missed any important parameter for this particular resource type, if you missed anything, or if you have written some wrong spell, there is spelling mistake while calling this particular resource variable. Okay, so that will be validated in the Terraform validation. Okay, so validate. If all the Terraform files are written properly, then it will show you success, your configuration file is valid. Okay, now I'm good to go. But before that, I want to see some preview, like how it is going to create my instance in the AWS. If I want to see that before it is actually created, then we have like Terraform plan. Terraform plan. Okay, so plan in the sense what you have written in the Terraform configuration files. All the TF files are called as Terraform configuration files. That is called as your desired state. Desired state in the sense what I need exactly. Current state in the sense what you have created. What is actually running in the real time, that is called as current state. What you have, what you are expecting to be done, that is called as desired state. Okay, so this Terraform plan is telling you that if you see here, the plus symbol in the sense it is trying to create, minus symbol in the sense it is trying to destroy. I will show you that as well. If you see something like tilde slash plus symbol, that is called as recreation. Okay, hyphen slash plus symbol, if you see something like that, that is called as recreation, means destroy and create. Okay, if you are updating something, that will be shown as tilde option. You know what is tilde, right? It will show like that. So now it is showing you that it is creating the resource. Okay, you can see plan 1 to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. Okay, so now let me try to execute. So Terraform apply. Okay, so when you execute Terraform apply, it will in the background it will execute Terraform plan, and it will ask you whether you want to continue or not. Okay, interactive way. If you say yes, it will create. If you say no, it will cancel. Okay, so if you say yes, now it will contact to my AWS account, and then it will create my EC2 instance. Okay, you can see here it is trying to create. So let me try to refresh this. You can see there this is getting created, right? You can see now. You can see the tag. Based on that, you can just identify. This is your tag, right? Web app hyphen Terraform. So it will take few minutes. Here it is under creation process. You can see now it's running. Okay, it's almost done. Okay, you can see it is outputting. I have written the output.tf file, right? In that I have told that how to print the private IP, how to print a public IP, and what is the public DNS name. Okay, so whatever you are seeing here, public DNS name, private IP, and public IP, if you want to print it on your CLI, let's say if you are doing some automation, right? In order to do the next task, I want this public IP. Okay, so if you want that public IP, how to call it? So that you will be writing in the output file actually. Here it is written, how to print the public IP. So this you will come to know as a part of the course. Now let us not scratch our head in order to understand this particular concept. Okay, just I want to show you that in this demo, how to spin up your infrastructure using this Terraform configuration file. Okay, now it is created. Now let us say I want to update this particular, let's say I don't want to use this t2.micro, I want to use t2.small. Okay, let's say how to update that. So let me go to variables file. Where is that? T2.micro, right? Here it is. I just want to use t2.smile instance type small. Okay, save it and come out. Okay, now Terraform. Okay, plan. Can someone tell me, will it recreate the instance or will it update the instance? Any guess?
Recreate.
Why? Any
It will
specific
delete
reason?
and recreate.
Any specific reason?
You cannot update the specs of a machine on the fly. It's only available on a private tools like VMware and
Okay, so
other
you mean
similar
to say
hypervisors.
when you are trying to change the instance type, nothing but let's say CPUs or memory and all, you have to recreate it. That is what you're trying to say, if I'm not wrong.
Yep. Hmm.
Okay, so look at this output. Okay, what it is trying to say, Terraform is used to select the provider to generate the following executable plan. Resource actions are indicated with
Right.
the following
It will
syntax.
just power off. Yeah, it will just power off, switch over. I mean, I meant to say that. It will switch over the specs and
Uh,
power it on. It cannot do it online.
so yeah, you can see here, right? I can change the instance type at any point of time. No need to do anything. It is on fly. Okay, no need to recreate the resource, no need to shut down or do something. Okay, so it will just update your instance type. It is nothing but you are increasing your RAM or CPU. Okay, instance type is nothing but you're trying to increase your resources. For that, it doesn't need to recreate, it is just updating. Okay, that's the reason you can see it is trying to update your resource. Okay, even if you modify your tag or if you modify something else apart from this, then it will try to update. Let's say if you're trying to change the zone, let's say instead of this availability zone I specified that US East 1B, then what will happen in that scenario?
That will be recreated. It will delete and recreate.
Recreated in the sense what? Will it delete this instance here and it will create in the one?
Yes, correct.
Exactly. So it, as per my expectation, which is nothing but as per my desired configuration file, my expectation now is to launch the instance on US East 1B. So it will delete. Why? Because this instance is maintained by your Terraform. So it will delete this particular instance and then it will create in the US East 1B. What you said is correct. Okay, so since it is expected to have there, in my real environment it is not running there, it will delete the existing one and it will create a new one in the availability zone called 1B. Okay, for these kind of things it will update. Okay, now if I run Terraform apply, see, Terraform apply, if I don't want to ask that yes or no, I can just give auto. Okay, it doesn't ask you any prompting for yes or no. Okay, it will just accept and it will run the Terraform apply. This will be helpful. These options are really helpful. We cannot neglect it actually. These options are really helpful when you are doing some CI/CD pipelines, right? When you are automating this particular process as well, you have to use these options, okay, which are really critical for us. CLI, yeah, we can give yes or no, and we can control that. When in automation, we cannot control it, right? So that's the reason. Just I want to make a note of it. So
Yeah,
in this
Sudhir.
way,
Question.
why I picked this particular demo is I just want to explain how is this Terraform can be automated in a simple way and how it will simplify your job. No need to learn any language, specific language, programming language for you to this automation. Yeah, someone is asking something actually. Sorry.
Yeah, Sudhir, this is Raghavendra.
Yeah, Arvind.
Yeah, in order to change the AWS instance type, right? In AWS, we need to stop the instance and change the instance and start it again, right? But in the
Yes.
Terraform, we don't need to do. Like we
No
can
need to. It will just update.
not impact or something.
No, it doesn't impact. No, nothing at all. Maybe the application which are running, right, is it not IO blocking, right, which we are doing it. IO operations will happen. Nothing will happen to it. Okay. So your network is not
And
down.
is this thing available on each and every possible type of operating system flavor? I don't think so.
It is not. Yes, what you said is true, and it depends upon the AMI what we are using as well, right? It also
Correct. Yeah,
depends,
yeah.
but
Okay,
most of
got
the
it.
cases,
Yeah, I
what
mean,
we
that's the
use in
reason. General
production
thing is you power
environment,
it down and then it power it on.
obviously. So, but it also depends because there will be so many factors come into picture when you are going with a cloud provider. Okay, because most of the cases, 90% it provides you in update. It is not recreation process. Most of the case because no one will accept, right? If that is the case, no one will
So
use that
it's not
specific
recreation.
AMI.
It just simply power offs and then powers it on with the
It will just
changes.
update your resource, like how we expand our instances, right? You can see here. Let me refresh
Mhm.
this. Let me show you. You can see here. Again, it is running your health check. Okay. Just let me try to do a refresh once again. Now you can see here. Now it is using this T2 small. Okay. So what is your public IP? Does it got changed? Your private IP as well? Let me show you.
No.
Is it changed? No, right? From this you
No,
can confirm, right? From
no.
this you can confirm that it is not recreated as a proof. Okay. So nothing will happen to your instance, whether you are running applications inside that, nothing will happen to it. Okay, maybe there will be a slight downtime. Maybe it might block the IO operation, might block. Okay, so might block this network operations or IO operations for at that specific point of time, and then it will allow the flow, traffic flow or IO operations, whatever it is. Okay, so that will happen. This is called as updating. Okay, so now if I want to remove this Terraform, destroy. Destroy. You can give auto approve, or you can just again it will ask for the it will prompt it actually. Okay, destroy.
Sudhir,
This is a
while
simple demo which I want to show actually, so that everybody can understand how simple it is to manage your infrastructure using this Terraform. You can see the symbol here. Minus symbol represents destroy. Okay, so whatever it is trying to clean up, it is just showing you hyphen symbol in each and every parameter in each and every section, right? So then if I say yes, it will destroy my infrastructure what it has been created. Yeah, someone is asking something. Sorry.
yeah, I mean, we have seen one example where we changed the flavor actually from T2 micro to the
Yes,
T2 small. So
exactly.
in a sense that like it was doing the in place operation. Obviously, like
Yes.
what you said could be seems to be true that some of the IO operation may be stopped. What happened when we tried to how about going about using a different AMI? Will it
So different
recreate
EMI, it
at
has
that
to
point
recreate.
or
It has to
recreate, right?
recreate. Yes, yes, yes. Obviously, you are changing your
Yeah,
entire
completely changing.
image itself, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Your operating system, simple ISO. Okay. So
Right.
now we can see what are the instance has been maintained by your Terraform got terminated. Okay. So this is how it is. Now you can understand, I can manage my infrastructure using this configuration file. I can push it to my GitHub or get it, whatever it is, and everybody can use it in order to replicate this infrastructure. Maybe in the same zone or different zone or same account or different account, everybody can utilize that particular, now this configuration file in the version control system, and they can spin up their infrastructure. How simple it is, rather than maintaining from CLI, maintaining some PDF document or a wiki document to run the step-by-step process. Some people may miss it, or some people may miss may clubs names and parameters and all. And so to avoid these kind of things, this is the best way to do it, to maintain your infrastructure. And for the automation process, this is the only way to use some particular tools in order to simplify your job. So Terraform is the best tool to infrastructure automation purpose. Okay, so why not Python or any other language? Because it is complex for a person to write a programming language, right? He has to know the programming language, and then he has to understand how to use a specific module and how to write a functions methods for it in order to spin up the infrastructure, right? Rather than declarative language. That is a major difference. So person who is comfortable can go with declarative language. A person who is confident and good enough in understanding the programming, they can go with the automation through programming. So that's the reason this course was divided into two parts. One is with Python, CDK TF, with the CDK TF actually, and without Python, without any programming language, we are using Terraform. Okay, so Terraform to automate our process, and we will be using GitHub Actions, AWS, I told you, right, pipelines, DevOps pipelines, and we'll be using Azure DevOps pipelines as well in order to automate this particular manual Terraform workflow process as well. Okay, simple. My job has to be, whenever I push my configuration files to GitHub, automatically my pipeline has to run Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform format, Terraform apply, and Terraform show, whatever it is needed. That has to happen automatically. So as an engineer, I cannot do all these steps anytime, every time, right? So you have to automate that particular process using some pipelines. That is nothing but what we see in the actual course using GitHub Actions and AWS or Azure DevOps pipelines. Okay, three, and don't like think that we will be not teaching Azure as well. Azure also covered in this particular topics. Since it is a demo, I just shown only on AWS, but we will be using Azure as well. Whatever we are doing on AWS, we will be doing the same on Azure cloud provider as well. Okay,
How long the duration of the course is?
so it will take 1
How
month.
many hours a day?
1 month, daily 1 hour, excluding Sundays. So Saturday we will have a session. If it is really not needed, I will be not taking on Saturday as well. Why? Because some people are working, right? They need some time to practice and all. They might get only on Saturdays and Sundays to practice, right? It depends upon that criteria, and I may or may not take Saturdays and Sundays. Sundays for sure I will not take. Saturday
Okay.
it depends.
So
Okay,
30 hours altogether.
altogether, yeah, you can calculate like 4 weeks. So let's say 5 days, right? 5 into 4, like 20, and 20 into 25 or 22, 23 hours. Okay, to complete this
23
syllabus.
for for Terraform and Python both, right?
The only Terraform I'm talking about. Python there will be another instructor who will be teaching about Python, and he'll be showing you how to automate your infrastructure using Terraform. Sorry, Python Boto, Boto 3
So
and CDK.
so first you will teach this course and then the other course continues, or how does that work?
That you can talk to the management. I'm not the right person. I'll be concentrating more on Terraform automation with AWS and Azure. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. You
Anything,
said
anything
1
like
hour a
Sudeep,
day,
fees.
right?
how to
This
update any infrastructure after
What
creating?
are the timings of the class?
Sudeep,
sorry, multiple people are speaking. I'm not able to understand. Ram, it is.
Sudeep,
Timings.
Yeah, Ram.
I have a small doubt. Whenever the creating at the time of instance, after we want to update,
Huh?
how to
Your voice is breaking. Is it Suresh or someone? Is it Ram? Suresh, actually your voice is breaking. I don't know it is problem from my end or
yes,
something.
yes, I am Suresh. How to update the infrastructure?
Upgrade in?
Okay, okay.
Sorry, my bad actually.
After creating the
Can you
infrastructure, how
type?
to update?
Okay, can you type the message actually in the chat room?
Sudhir,
I see
his
so many.
question was
Okay,
like
okay.
how to modify the infrastructure after
Okay,
creating.
simple. You can update your Terraform file, right? See, whatever you want to modify, always try to modify that particular parameter. Check with your Terraform plan. Is it showing you as per your expectation? If you are okay, then apply the Terraform apply. Okay, then execute Terraform apply. Then that will get modified into your real time current infrastructure, whatever you're using. Always you have to remember your desired should be matching with your current state. That's it. Your desired state, what you have written in the configuration file, should be matching with your current state in the real world, real environment, right? So do the modification, check in your execute Terraform plan. No need to apply directly. Do the Terraform plan, review it. If you are okay, then apply the Terraform plan, Terraform apply. Okay, whatever it is.
Okay, Sudhir,
Sudhir, a quick question.
Raghavendra here. So
Yeah,
we can reboot the servers and stop and start the instance.
everything can be done, everything. So for that, whatever you have to do, AWS instance resource type, right? You have to check which parameter you want to use for reboot. Say if you go to the official documentation, right? For let's say,
No, if I want to reboot the
yes,
instance
we
in
can.
particular time,
Simple answer
no,
is yes, we can.
particular time. Maybe I want to reboot the instance by tomorrow, so I can initiate
Uh,
now. Uh,
that
so
comes
by
under
next
cron job, right?
time, okay.
You have to schedule it
It
in
comes under
instance.
cron job. You have to initiate it. So let's say if you're using some CI/CD pipeline, what you will do? You will write a cron job, right? In CI/CD also we have a cron job saying that this pipeline has to be triggered at specific point of time. That you can set it. Remember this point to me. I'll be show you practically when we come across that. Okay.
Yeah,
Hello.
So what are the timings of the
Hello.
class?
Quick question.
Timings and all not yet decided, guys, because we need an input from you. Everybody give your email address and contact number in the chat room to Visualpath so that they will get in touch with you. I think they already have a contact number. If it is okay, fine. Okay. So we will have a separate WhatsApp group.
Hello.
Every day we will be discussing over there. Any questions if you have, we can just post over there in the group whoever is joining the course. And instead of waiting for the next day, right, to solve the problem, we can discuss in the WhatsApp group itself. So that half of the time will be saved actually. Okay. So we can save our QA time. The best practice, like if you want to get in touch with me or if you want to contact with one to one and all, we can discuss in WhatsApp and we can have, see, it's not about, don't ask me only about Terraform. When you join the WhatsApp group, right, if you want any help related to DevOps, Docker, Kubernetes, earlier I used to teach Docker in Visualpath. It is 5 years actually where I'm teaching in this teaching field actually. Initially I teach DevOps, then after Docker and Kubernetes, now I am into Terraform automation as per the, what do you say, as per the outside industrial standards, right? I'm changing my courses teaching actually. Okay. So if you need any help, I hope screen is getting shared, right? If you need any other document or any other what do you say, classes related to my topics and all, you can just search for Sudhir DevOps, YouTube channel actually. Here you can see this, right? So the DevOps channel, you can go there. You have so many videos actually. Right now I have one videos related to Kubernetes, Docker and all. You can just read here. It is public. Everybody can subscribe and they can use it actually. Okay. So you can just use this one. And if you want to get in touch with me and all, I have my email address. Okay. You can use this email address actually in PPT which I gave. Just a second. I will share with this PPT. Okay, you can drop an email to this particular two email addresses. One is info@sudhirdevops.com, or you can contact to sudhir.reddy.duba@gmail.com. You can get in touch with me on these two email addresses. Okay, you might get immediate reply or some, might be some delay. Okay, so don't get bounded to only some particular technology. Every time I will just upload a new videos to this channel. You can just read this whenever you have some time. Okay. Just I want to share my knowledge. That's it. It's not like promotion or something like that. Just I want to tell you that if you want to read it and understand some new topics as well, just go through this channel, right? It is free of cost. No need to pay anything, right? So just you can.
Like while practicing every day, like how do we reach out to you, sir?
Yeah.
Like if any
So
questions or
coming to the
any
lab,
doubts?
yeah, coming to the lab, everything, no need to worry about it. Everything from scratch, I will show you where to practice, how to do your setup, what are the things you need to follow. Everything can be shown from scratch. Don't worry that it will be started from somewhere, some point. No, it will be started from scratch. Okay. Even I will explain some CLI commands, Linux commands, and Windows commands as well, how to execute and how to run some particular task, whatever it is. Everything from scratch. Don't worry too much. Okay, I'm new to this technology. I don't know about Linux. I am into storage technology. Don't worry about it. For storage, we have storage services. We'll be seeing how to spin up that particular storage services as well from our Terraform configuration files. Okay, so for QA engineers, for developers, for storage engineers, whatever it is, just from scratch. Okay, no need to worry too much. That's what I can promise. Yeah, account
Sudhir,
creation, Azure account creation, and all.
do we have to have a main.tf file to run the Terraform, or is it something an
See,
optional thing?
main.tf in the sense that is a naming convention actually. You can give any name whatever you want. See, did I give anything like main.tf? No, right?
I saw that. I saw that.
No, no, I don't have anything.
It wasn't. No, no, that's what I'm saying. I did not find that there.
Yeah, that's what.
So
So it's
normally, I mean,
not mandatory.
till date, what I've been using, I have to have a main.tf wherein I define the
No, 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 no,
provider, I define the
no, no,
calling
no.
variables and
It's,
all.
it's
And
okay. I'll tell you why it is written like that, because to understand that in this root module, this is the main file to create a resource. That's how the technical name was given, but it is not mandatory. Terraform can
how does
understand
it know
any
as to where to
configuration
start
file.
from?
See, where to start in the sense, ultimately you can just read your document. See, for everything we will write a readme file, right? So readme file is mandatory to write what you want to do, what you're trying to do with this particular
చూద్దాం
configuration root module. Okay. So readme file
మండే
should be there.
వేరియబుల్ బుక్ కుదిరితే లేకపోతే లీవ్ పెట్టుకోమని పెట్టుకుంటా
Can you give
అవును
on note?
Hello? Hello?
నేను బయటికి వెళ్తాను
Yes,
ఇక్కడ
Sudhir.
హైదరాబాద్
Sorry, sir. Let me
Hello?
answer his question. Ravi,
నేను
give me 2 minutes. Okay?
మార్నింగ్ వెళ్తాను యాక్చువల్గా 8కి వెళ్తాను అందుకే అడిగింది
Ravi, you're
ఏ
speaking, or don't know who is speaking actually. Who is this
Yeah,
actually?
hello?
Yeah,
Sudhir?
yeah.
Yeah, Sudhir. This
Suman.
is Suman. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, while you are writing the Terraform code with a var,
Suman, can you give me
so
2 minutes? Can you give me 2 minutes? I just want to explain him how to start with. Okay.
yeah,
Then I
okay.
can answer your question. Yeah, give me 2 minutes. Okay. So how to understand that where I need to start? It depends. See, you are writing your Terraform configuration files, right? So
No, no, no. My
always
question
best
was more about
practices
the
is,
fact that how does the
yeah.
Terraform understand as to which file to look for to start with? Is it the provider
Okay.
file?
Okay. So it is all depends upon the depends on actually. Okay. But actually it will pick any one of the file. It will understand, it has the capability of what should be created first. Let's say I want to create a VPC network first and then instance and all, right? That could be there. If I don't have a
Yeah,
networking,
the
if I
sequence.
try to create an instance, it will fail, right? So Terraform API has the capability of trying to pick this particular on a flow, okay, which should be created what and all. But if you still want to control that, we have a concept called depends on. Okay, there could be some cases where,
Hmm.
let's say you are trying to create 2 instances in the same configuration file. For example, I'm saying, okay, one instance should be created only after the another instance has been created successfully. Okay, so then what you
Got it.
can add, we can add a concept called depends on. So depends on in the sense that will be created first and then this will be created, right? That's it. So by default, Terraform can
Okay.
understand based on the API design, it can understand which should be created first in the resource concept. But still, if you want to control, we have a concept called depends on. Okay.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Good to know that you asked. Thank you.
Uh, Sudhir, Praveen here.
Yeah,
Uh,
Praveen.
can we use Terraform for integration with Jenkins and Kubernetes? Can we
Yes, we
maintain?
can. Yes, we can.
So Jenkins has also provider, right? Yes.
We will write a plugin.
Uh,
See, no worries. I will write a Jenkins pipeline, right? So in that, I will show you how to write a pipeline. Not in Groovy. I'll be using DSL so that everybody will not get confused. Okay. I'll be writing a simple DSL pipeline of Jenkins, and I will show you how to automate that process. Okay.
okay. So from
Will that
Terraform
be
we
fine?
can create Jenkins. So that Terraform we can create Jenkins jobs and all that. That you're saying, right?
Yeah, that it depends where you're trying to run. It depends on the provider. If I am using Kubernetes, yes, you can. We can create a deployment object with the Kubernetes provider, and we can spin up a Jenkins container. Yes, we can do it.
Okay.
If it
Okay.
is AWS, you cannot. We have to use AKS cluster. We can spin up the AKS cluster using Terraform, and then we can run our. Then we have to use Ansible or something to deploy the application, or Helm chart, something like that. It depends upon the
Okay.
provider to provider, right?
Okay.
Hey, Sudhi, a quick one.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can list the resources? I mean, in your
Yeah.
Terraform script
Yes.
where you have
Terraform state list. Okay, just a second. Let first me show. Okay, state file is missing here or what? No. Okay. So Terraform. Sure, this is something where it will show you infrastructure. It is not. Oh, it is destroyed, right? Yeah. So the thing is, I will tell you. The thing is, you have this Terraform stateful. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So whenever you create some resource, those whatever the resource has been created by your Terraform, whether it be instance, whether it will be VPC network or whatever it is created, that will be stored in the resource section. Here you can see, right? Now it is empty. Okay. But whenever you try to spin up, that particular resource information will be stored here. So Terraform,
Yeah.
what happened? Okay. So Terraform will look at this particular file, what has been created in your AWS. Okay. What is your desired is written in the configuration file. What is created in the actual provider is stored in the TF state file. Now, when I execute Terraform state list, okay, whatever the resource has been created, like VPC instances and all, that will be stored in the form of list here. Okay. Whichever resource has been managed, that you can list here, and you can manage that as well. That comes under state management. There is a separate session for this, which you will understand each and every topic about this. What is this Terraform TF state file? How will you manage it? If I modify this particular state, what will happen to my real-time environment and all? So that we can see there. Okay.
Yeah, good to know about it. What I mean to say is that like in the instance TF5, right? We have
Yes.
this the block levels. You have
Yes.
mentioned
Yes.
something like
Yes.
that. So, is there
Resource
a way
block.
that you can list that block levels, or is it something that you have to refer to the Terraform website for the documentation?
For
Like,
documentation, we have to refer the website because it will have plenty of documentation, which is best to go to the browser and search for the provider and search for the documentation, which is well written with attributes, meta arguments and all. It is written in more detail. Don't do from CLI. Okay. Always
yeah, yeah.
go to the browser, so read for that and try to understand the concept. Okay. It
All
is
right.
well written and well explained about that parameters, each and every parameter. Don't refer any other official document is more than enough for us. Okay.
Yeah. Hello.
99%.
Say,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. Can we integrate the Terraform with Ansible? Means integration with Ansible.
No, it's not the right way. Even though if you can, but it's not the right way. We
Okay.
don't have any Terraform module. But Terraform is trying to
Okay.
creating the infrastructure, right? So why you want to manage through Ansible again? Again, you are integrating another tool actually. Okay, in order to run that Ansible, again we have to use CI/CD pipeline. Instead of that, why can't you use this Terraform itself in CI/CD pipeline to spin up the infrastructure? Am I making any sense? So that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. While writing the Terraform code with VATs, can we call it as a dynamic code? This
It's not
Terraform code.
dynamic. No, no, no. For dynamics, we have to use data source. In
Okay.
Terraform, we have a concept called data source. Like we use filtering, right? If you remember in mobiles also, when you want to purchase a mobile, right, you will select the brand, you will select the price, you will select the what do we say, specifications like this amount of RAM and all, right? So based on that, it will filter your mobiles which you want to see. So similarly, let's say, for example, I have AMIs, for example. Okay, I want to filter my AMI. Let me delete this. Okay, just a second. I just want to terminate this one. Yeah. So if you go to AMIs, let's say here it will install so many AMIs. For example, let's say, just a second, guys. Okay. See here it is listing so many AMIs. Okay. In that I want to filter the latest Amazon maintained Amazon Linux 2 image. Okay. For example, let's say every time I cannot hardcode this. This might change. Okay. So how I can get a value dynamically? For that we can use a data source in Terraform. Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine.
So in this way, Terraform is well designed that you can do dynamic operations as well as static operations as well. You can hard code, you can change your variables, or you can write a centralized location like variables. No need to modify the actual resource files. Okay, you can always modify your variables file, right? That's how the modules will come into picture. When we write your modules, then you'll understand what is the intention of using these variables, outputs, data sources, and all. Okay, how
Okay.
to design
Okay.
our own module push it to our own repository, and everybody no need to write from scratch. Everybody can download that module and they can spin up the instance. Okay.
Okay. How we
Okay,
can move
what is
the
Terraform
state?
module?
Module is something where what are the resources you want to create, that we will be grouping together. Okay, and then you will write a module. So as a module, you will be writing some bunch of Terraform configuration files, and that will be maintained as a template. That is called as module. Okay.
Okay,
So like
okay.
it's
What is
consisting
Terraform
of
Vault?
resources.
See, Terraform Vault is nothing but if you
Hello,
want to
Terraform Vault.
store some. Terraform Vault is something if you want to encrypt your data, sensitive information, then we use Terraform Vault. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, how we have Ansible Vault, right? Similar to that. Okay.
Yes, Sudhir. Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sumesh.
Yeah,
Suman.
modules is nothing but a collection of resources. Can we call it
Collection
as
of
like that?
Terraform files, like collection of resource, whatever you can say. Yeah.
Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, thank you.
If, when you write a
So
module for a person, when a person is using module, right? Just a second, sorry, Girish. So when you're using module, right? No need to write every time for you. No need to write instance.terraform file, VPC Terraform file, security group Terraform file, or other files. No need to write from your end. Okay, you can use the module and you can spin up the same infrastructure. Okay, so that's how it is. Okay,
Okay,
just a second, guys.
okay.
I'm getting a call. Yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah, Girish, you were saying something?
Yeah, so just wanted to summarize how to understand what will be covered. So basically, we will start with first provisioning the infrastructure in
Yes.
AWS or Azure or a GCP, and then we will also cover uh, with the pipelines, basically Azure DevOps or a AWS Cloud Build or whatever.
Shall I,
It,
Girish, if you don't mind, can I repeat the flow what we are going to do?
yeah, sure.
So first we'll be creating AWS account, Azure account. Okay. Then we'll be creating our AWS like local workstation. Then we'll be using AWS provider, Azure provider to create the resources. Okay. Whatever the concepts we have, we will be learning each and every topic what we have in the Terraform. Okay. The same concept will be applied for whatever the providers you use. Just we have picked AWS and Azure because that is the current running cloud market. Okay. So after this is done, we will be automating the process. Till now, whatever we have done from the workstation is we are doing it manually, right? We will be automating this particular process first with the GitHub Actions, and then we'll be using Jenkins, and then after we'll be using Azure pipeline, DevOps pipeline, and AWS pipeline as well if it is needed. Okay. So we will be automating this
Okay.
process so that you will understand the real-time world when you go to the production environment where Terraform is used, right? Then you will be well settled or well understood about the concept, how the real-time environment is running. Okay.
Okay. So basically, I think one more thing what we need to be. Yeah, so nowadays everything has to be very much secured. So
Secure, yes.
we can't use either the AWS secret keys or any credentials that we use when we provision the infrastructure. Everything has to be
Yes.
secured. So I think
Yes.
we will be considering that in mind, and
Security is also mandatory. Yes. How will you see? We cannot blindly give our access token and service token and push our config file and save it in the GitHub repository. Right? That is the first mistake. What everybody should not do, right?
yeah.
And
So
the
basically, yeah.
where your workstation is trying to spin up, there also we should not store our credentials. That is also second criteria. So there are so many criterias into the security level, what should be used, and do's and don'ts. Actually, generally we call it as do's and don'ts for a security level of your credentials. That is what we are going to see as well. That is a part, of course. It's not a separate thing that we have to concentrate in. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So basically we will consider that, and generally we don't
Of
provision
course.
as it is hard coded, right? So
Yes,
okay,
yes. We
fine,
should
good.
never hard code. We should simplify our job as much as a dynamic way and pick the values from a centralized location or whatever it is. Okay.
Okay,
We should
thank
never
you,
hard
thank
code.
you.
Yeah, yeah, Girish. Thank you.
Yes, Sudhir.
Yes, Suman.
Last question. Last question.
Yeah.
How we can save our Terraform state file in S3? Means move our state file into S3.
We are using S3 bucket to store our state files. Okay, so I will show you how
Okay.
to store it. For that we have this. If you look at this slide, right? I
Okay.
just want to show you that actually. Terraform variables. I just written somewhere. Yeah, in the settings block, remote locking, state lock. Yeah, here it is. You can see here, right? In the Terraform settings block itself, I have written backend S3, which means that now your Terraform file, state file, will not store in the local system where you are running this. It will be stored in the
Okay.
centralized location. Why is this needed? Any guess?
For we can store our infrastructure.
No, let's say Girish, you are working on your own laptop. Okay.
Okay.
If I don't
Okay.
give you the Terraform state file, will you know how to spin up the infrastructure? That infrastructure is already there, right?
Okay.
Your state file, what you are creating, and my state file is different, right? So we cannot use
Okay.
these two independent state files in order to manage my infrastructure. That will create some mess, right? So that's the reason. Instead of storing our state file in a common location in our local machine, we will be storing in a shared location that is called as backend storage, where everybody will clone the configuration files, but Terraform file will be stored in the backend location. And additional to that, we will be having a locking in the sense, let's say I'm executing some Terraform command apply. It is running in the background, and you are also trying to run some Terraform apply command. You will not able to execute. Why? Because this Terraform file, state file, is already logged, so you cannot execute. So mess up will not happen when some multiple people are working on this same environment. Okay, so that is the advantage which we get of this backend. For Azure, we use Azure RM. Okay. For here, we use S3 bucket for AWS. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And what about the Terraform workspace? Means
Workspace is nothing but if you want to create a configuration file for your QA deployment, for
okay.
same configuration file for development, for production and all, we can create in a separate workspace. That workspace will be applied only for that particular environment. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell
Okay.
you this.
And
It is a vast syllabus. We are already running out of time. It is already 2 hours. Just I want to wind up, guys. Any questions
okay.
which you have, you
Sudhir,
can join
last
on the
question.
first day.
Hello.
Yeah, Praveen.
Yeah, yeah. So as you said, state file you are maintaining for the environment details, right? Current state environment.
Yes. Yes.
So if someone added manually from the UI, okay, in the
Huh.
cloud, then
Okay.
is it a way then we can sync the state file, because that in that
Yes,
case state file has the,
we can use Terraform state pull. Okay. Or we can use Terraform state update. Okay. That will, whatever the modifications you have done in the manually in the real-time environment, and that should be synced with your Terraform configuration file. That is one way. If you don't want that, and if you want to remove what they have created, deleted manually, you can just apply Terraform apply. What it will do, it will remove the additional tags or additional things what you have done, that will get removed. Okay. So
okay,
there are two
okay,
things. Do you want to use it? Just import the update the state file with the latest manually done changes. If you don't want
mhm,
that, just apply your Terraform apply. It will remove what they have done manual changes. Okay.
okay, got it. Thanks.
Got it? So thank you guys. Thanks for joining the demo. Sorry for taking such a long, and thanks for your patience actually for 2 hours. Okay. So this is all about actually. We will be completely discussing about production environment, how it should be used in a Terraform in a proper way when you're working with the production environment to deploy your to spin up your infrastructure. Okay. So that is what it is. Okay.